Okay, everybody, we ready? All right. Well, good evening, Merrimack. Good evening, everybody here in the room. I see we have some public here, so thank you for being here with us. This is May 17th, and it is 7:05 that we are starting our meeting tonight. We're going to start a little off kilter. We're going to do the minutes afterwards. We're going to go straight to some new business and talk about the proposal to build a mountain bike trail at Wasserman Park.
Tracy, before we get to that, do you want to do introductions?
Oh, well, that would be good. 1 minute. For all of you out there, yes, I'm awake now. Thank you very much. I'm Tracy McGraw. I'm the chairman of the committee. Rick?
I'm Rick Grenier. I'm here on behalf of MYA.
I'm David Shaw, committee member.
Maureen Howell, Senior Citizen Representative. Tongue stuck.
Laura Janes, member.
Naomi Halter, School Board Representative. And I'm Mackenzie Murphy. I'm the representative from the Town Council.
Matt Kasparius, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Michelle Creswell, member and secretary.
And one more thing before we get started, we wanted to welcome our new representative from Town Council, Mackenzie. Thank you very much. This is her first night. And we promised her we are fun.
Look at her smile, my goodness.
I thought they were cupcakes. Okay. Now we're going to get to the bike path the bike trail at Wasserman Park. Did you gentlemen want to come up? Okay.
My name's Fred Mackey.
See the button right on there? If you push that, it'll make the light turn green.
Ooh, all right.
Mine's on now too.
So hi, I'm Fred Mackey, resident Merrimack for, 50 years plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sean Smith, 20 years here in Merrimack, Severance Bridge Road.
So with that, we're looking to build a bike path over at Wasserman Park. Are you familiar with the southern end of the park, behind the dog park? There's a large area of woods that it's just not being used. And driving by on my commute to work, driving to the park, I just happened to notice there's a lot of good stuff out there. And so we ended up taking a walk out there and see if it was something that we'd want to pursue. And we're here to ask if you guys are up for it as well. We've got plenty of volunteers. We're not looking for any funds from Parks and Rec. I've talked to Matt a few times about this. He seems to be on board. He also mentioned possibly moving the skate park / bike park that's over near the high school. He said eventually that may end up at Wasserman. There's several locations we're looking at, but if that was to ever happen, it would help incorporate more bike activities for all the kids in town and the adults. Any questions? We did map out. If you guys want to see this, I can map this out. If I could hand this to someone.
We have a,
Oh,
we have a
all
large
right.
map that
All
we've been
right.
sharing.
Matt looks like.
So yeah, with that, we want to start this trail near the exit of the park, keeping it, away from the dog park, not to, interfere and get on, 30 dogs barking and going wild. Try to stay, and it kind of runs along Natticook Road until it gets behind the park. That's where the area starts to, mill around. It's hilly. There's obstacles we can incorporate with the trail. And we'd like to actually, with this, we have one trail after talking with Sean, and it's a big area. It'd kind of be nice to make another trail to climb back upwards. This one here would mostly be, we'd try to do a one-way trail. Keep traffic going one way to avoid injuries and stuff like that. And then maybe even like a skills park where people can work on their rock climbing skills and drop off skills and stuff like that. There are some flat areas out there. It looks like it's been logged, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago.
It's pretty messy out there.
Yeah.
So he's licensed in town for chainsaw work.
Right. With that, yeah, I'm a employee over at Public Works. I'm one of their lead equipment operator. I've been certified with chainsaw safety.
So I know that's pretty big with
Yeah.
like Horse Hill.
Wasserman
Yeah,
Dog Park.
yeah.
We
Like
love Public
whenever
Works.
the conservation committee, you know, they put in requests for having trees removed. I'm the guy. I know the trails, you know, and
And my requests
Yeah,
that I
as
put
well,
in
yeah.
as well. Tree down. So now we
Yeah.
have someone that can go out and
Yeah.
do it like legally,
Yeah.
you know. But I do a lot of work over at Horse Hill more recently, and I've been building trails for about 20 years. So more recently I work with Mark Gagnon. I don't know if you guys know Mark. He's the chair. I'm sure you know him. But I approached him last year. COVID brought lots of great things, lots of people with bikes and outdoor enthusiasts and everything. And it really did a number on the limited number of trails that we do have. So I put a proposal together where we actually did a lot of repair work on the a trail called Twister and Blodgett Hill Bypass, which I helped build back in the day with one of the old Horse Hill presidents. And he was out there, and we did a lot of rock work. So this is heavy rock work that we do with manpower, rock nets, rock bars, and so far the mountain bike community has been very happy with that. And I think Mark was very open and happy with that as well. And he was out there helping, so he could see the work that we did. So this will have the same spirit, building this trail. Nothing too extravagant or crazy. You're not going to have guys wearing full face helmets and that look like motocross guys. It's going to be regular cyclists, and it'll be for all ability levels. And I think that's important for you guys to know, and when you're taking that into consideration.
What kind of base is going to be on it that the mountain bikes would be riding on? Like, what would the material be?
Hopefully dirt.
Okay.
and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, there'd be no added base. It's the materials that are there. You know.
Yeah,
There'd have to be some tree removal, as far as lay down. If you guys driven by there, you can see there's just a mess. It's like pixie sticks. So there's a couple hours of just cutting through on what's laid down already.
One thing that may be important as well, no large trees, pre-existing trees that are growing are going to be affected.
Yeah.
We're not looking to bring machines in there.
No clear cutting.
No clear cutting.
No,
of,
it's just few
so
rakes and
kind of a natural trail that
Couple garden
incorporates, but nothing too steep. One thing from building trails for years, there's trail schools for this stuff, as you guys probably are aware. Nothing too steep and too much of a grade because it'll erode, and then we'll just end up having to fix it or reroute it. So we've kind of mapped it out now, and it's fairly gentle, but it should be fun.
should be
You have an estimate about how long it is from the start to finish?
0.38
Okay.
Pretty short.
was for that.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
pretty
making
short.
sure.
It's
So that's why you need more trails, is what you're saying.
Correct.
I think right now Wasserman's got about, I want to say about 4.5 to 5.5 miles of trail. Right now this is on the underutilized section. It's actually right next to a frisbee golf course that's kind of buried,
Sort of.
grown
In
in,
limbo.
Sort of.
sort of.
Yeah.
It got
It's,
started many, many moons ago.
Right.
I don't think anyone's used that.
Well,
No.
the disc golf course that was proposed by residents, like in that particular project, it was basically the same parcel of land that you guys are looking at. Their plan was to raise all the money, and they thought they'd do it all in 6 months and be in and out and done. And the leader of the group moved out of town, and it kind of fell apart. And I think they raised $800 in 4 years, and it was like 14,000 is what they were trying to get to. So at this point, it's a dead project. So
We made sure we're actually staying away from the disc golf, so we didn't know
Yeah.
what the deal with that really was. So we said there's plenty of room on the side of it, doesn't interfere. So if those guys were to come back and want to have that, and actually there's quite a few places that actually incorporate disc golf within their trail systems where everyone kind of coexists as well.
Okay.
As long as they're not throwing frisbee at our heads. But yeah, so.
Be too fast.
Tracy?
Rick, do you have a question?
Yeah. Guys, let's say you got the approval in the near future.
Yep.
How long do you expect this project might take you?
This one trail here, I mean, to have it raked out and laid down, I mean, we could have it done in a week.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking 2 days.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Right.
we've,
And then,
we've
you
got a
know,
really good.
as far as
we've got a
incorporating
dedicated crew.
obstacles and you know, your mind can just keep on going. You could build for years, you know, but the
Once-
actual trail won't take long at all.
Once the blowdowns that are out there, the large pines that are they're literally everywhere. Once he goes through and we've already marked it, but once he goes through and clears those, it's what we call a rake and ride trail. So there may be some shovel activity, certain spots like, you know, certain corners or something to that effect, but nothing extravagant. But a pretty straightforward trail. It's really good land, it looks like.
The land of butter is actually
A
one of
mountain
the
biker.
volunteers.
Yeah,
Okay,
he'll be out there. Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Laura? Yes. What do the letters NEMBA stand for? Is that your
That
group?
is for New England Mountain Bike Association.
There you go.
We have
Thank you.
some
That's
friends and connections over there and
Great.
people that would just jump right in and
That's
volunteer and
wonderful.
help us.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be looking for other people in the meanwhile? Or are you pretty well set for volunteers?
Anyone can help. Yeah, well, I'll run the crew and
Yeah. It won't take much. but,
Yeah. Well, good for you.
At
Thank
this
you.
point, for this one trip.
Yeah,
but
that's wonderful.
in our
It's a
minds,
great
it would be-
idea. Thank you.
keep at it.
It's a
All right.
great idea.
Maureen?
Would it be open to everybody or just certain people that have to join or,
Oh, no, that's a town park. It's open.
so
Any-
it's
any-
open?
yeah.
Well, I mean, outsiders outside of Merrimack?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
what?
yeah.
What
There-
was
we-
that
We
answer?
get a lot of people from all over for all the trails that we have in town. Yeah.
yeah, there's quite a large community of, well, I would say hikers, and I don't know a lot of hikers, but the mountain bike community comes from all over
Okay.
to ride our trails here. But I think it's mostly, you know, during the week, it's mostly locals, you know, surrounding towns. But yeah, you can't, I don't think you can control who uses it. I think what we'd like to do is maybe provide some level of signage, basically just saying, hey, predominantly down, like more of a downhill style trail.
Okay.
Just, you know,
Yeah, as far
enter at your own risk, you know, something to that effect.
Some signage for direction.
I will say,
Yes, yeah.
I will say where we have the end of the trail is kind of off to the very extreme side of the park, and I don't think there's a lot of walker usage on that side.
Yeah, it's-
Not that I've seen. As a matter of fact, the trail that we come out on is actually the trail that goes over to the folks that are in over on Dirt Road, and that road there right off of, I think it's off of Natticook, and also my friend who lives there at that parcel, he actually has a trail that comes into that. So those are usually the only people that are riding through there or walking through there using it. So it doesn't come out on the Gaga pit that they installed. They have a new Gaga pit for the kids.
right.
Because I was asking him, I'm like, what is that? And I remember my son, because he used to go over to the camp sergeant, and they had the Gaga pit, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but I guess they just put one in. It's nowhere near that, so we're not worrying about hitting little kids.
I think we have a couple of them, but I actually wanted to take a look at the picture to see if it was anywhere near the Gaga pit.
Oh, okay.
Nowhere near it.
No, I think the Gaga pit's like further to
That-
the right. Yeah.
The cabin, you have the Gaga pit, the cabin that's to the left of it. There's a trail that goes in the woods. Like I said, that heads over to Dirt Road. And this one would actually pop out onto that trail, that existing trail.
Okay.
And then hopefully we can work on just looping it back up to the top.
All right.
Someday.
Just one more question. I assume this would fall under dawn to dusk opening, dawn to dusk. So no lighting or any of that.
Correct.
No, definitely don't want any
It's
lighting.
pretty dark back there. Anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Good.
Yeah.
No, that's
Right, right.
I think mountain bikers, just like hikers and just
Yeah.
general folks that use the woods, I
Yeah,
think they like,
absolutely.
you know, to be in the woods and not. And
Yeah. Oh yeah, I get it. No, no lights.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Matt, we need to go ahead and vote on this so it can
You
go
have to
next to
make
the
a
town council?
recommendation, yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the proposal for the mountain bike trail at Wasserman Park. Okay, Rick, thank you.
Second.
Laura, thank you. All in favor?
Ta-da-da.
Looks good.
A majority.
All right,
Wow.
looks good. You got
Wow,
it
guys, thank you.
unanimous on this end.
You've got your mountain bike trail.
So guys, just on
Yes.
from next step process, obviously tomorrow I'll send the paperwork over to Becky in town hall. They'll put you on the agenda for the next council meeting. The council is the one that gives the kind of final, yes, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
I don't know when the meetings are off the top of my head. I haven't looked at their calendar yet. If it's next week, we might be able to get into.
May, next Thursday night.
Potentially, I could get you. Depends on what's on the agenda, but it might be into June for their meeting,
Okay.
just depending on
All
time.
right. Yeah. If there's room next week.
I'm guessing this will probably be a fall project. Nobody likes cutting trails with
Yeah.
the bugs.
So yeah, they're starting
Unless
to get
the
up
weather
there.
Fall's a great time
Unless
to
the
do it.
weather continues like this.
Well, there you have
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Matter of fact, we did most of the Horse Hill work this year in the winter because it was so warm.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it when the ground's frozen. But it was amazing year.
Wild.
Interesting.
Wow.
Okay. No, I like today. Today's good. Today's weather's good. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank
and
you.
A lot of people spend a lot of time at the dog park area, and it'll be nice to have something else going on back there besides snapping turtles and deer. So that'll be good.
Snapping turtles and deer.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for the time.
We actually
Thank you.
had one that laid eggs inside or just outside the dog park. And we had to move her because she was trying to
you
burrow underneath the fence, and the dogs were not
That's
pleased.
a long trip if you're a turtle. From down from the pond all the way up there. That's almost half a mile.
We moved her even further. Thank you
Thanks.
guys very
All right.
much.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Pull over here so you don't have to keep turning around to look at me. I'm hiding in the back. We have a full house today.
All right. I'm going to go real quick. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes from March? But you can't vote. Have a good night. Thank you again.
I'll make a motion to accept the March minutes.
Okay. Dave, second. Are we all good? All in favor who was here? Raise your hands. Okay. And everybody else, they weren't here. Okay. All right. That's done. So it looks like one of the next things that we're supposed to be working on is the review of Chapter 142 for Parks and Recs ordinances.
Yes,
Did you?
that's me.
Oh, you got, yes.
I don't actually need the projector for this one, but I will in a minute, so you might as well leave it on. It's fine. All right, so what I'm handing out now is just the copy of the existing ordinances for Parks and Rec, which is Chapter 142. Every 5 years, the town manager asks all the department heads to review the ordinances related to their department and come up with a list of any recommendations that we think we want to make changes to. 5 years ago, when we last did this, we did things like we put in a rule we had recommended, which was approved, a rule about no swimming at the Veterans Park boat launch because of safety issues. We've done things like prior to residency restrictions at the beach. I'm trying to think of what other ones we've had. Other random kind of rules related to various parks and kind of what's acceptable for use in those parks. So it's time to do that again. And so I'm handing out the ordinance tonight. What I'd like to do is just obviously give it to you, have you kind of take a look at it. And then when we come back in June, we'll come to kind of talk about any suggestions you may have to do that. One of the things that I'll just throw out there, we've been getting a lot of calls lately from people looking to do metal detecting. And, which is, you know, going into a park and digging things up to find treasures, you know. Obviously, you know, we don't want somebody doing that in the middle of a softball field or, you know, something like that, but we don't have any particular ordinance that allows it or prohibits it. So, that's one thing that I have, and I'm working on some draft language from other places right now, that I'll have ready for next time. You know, but, you know, like, say we allow it, but maybe we don't want to allow it at Watson Park because it can't dig, you know, that kind of thing. So maybe it's at other parks except not on fields or some, you know, I don't know, but we'll get into that again next time. So again, for this, just first thing is just to think about if there's kind of glaring needs, issues, problems that we might need to regulate better, you know, those types of things. And then, like I said, we'll talk about those in June. And that's all I got for that.
All right.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Quick question.
Yeah.
This came up in my own personal life, and I wonder if you've thought about it, but the issue is drone use
Yep.
in various parks, and I don't know if that's covered
That's
elsewhere.
another one. Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of want to do a class, honestly, but there's so many regulations and, you know, doing it right. And so I have, yeah, so that's another one. That's good. Thanks for reminding me on that.
Okay, good. All right, so the next topic on here is under old business, Merrimack Dog Park. I talked with Chris, but there's nothing really new to what we usually ask for. Please donate more puppy present bags. Cleaning up in the park, if you're using the park, please maybe pick up 2 for every 1 your dog shares. Just to help us keep the park clean, because we're getting a nice collection again at the bottom end of the park that's now going to have a bike trail going through, and we don't need to add malodorous intent. So far dog park fund balance is $1693.59. We are talking about whether or not we're going to be able to possibly ask DPW to help us out with maybe some chips, depending upon their condition, or if we're going to get some playground chips. We're also having to talk about what has to be used around playgrounds, and that's on a different issue, but I know that it's all going to come into play at some point in time for cost and deliveries and everything else. So we'll work in tandem, obviously, with Parks and Recs and Town Council on that. And that's pretty much it for the dog park. Matt, yeah.
Good. So, two things. One, so we don't think we need to spend money at this point. I put it on there because we usually do get additional either mulch or playground chips around this time of year, but I put it on there just in case we needed to make that request. Obviously, the stuff we get from Public Works is, you know, ground up tree mulch, which is free to us, you know, and it's just time to spread it, versus buying the playground chips, which usually we get like 40 yards is about $1,000. So we have 1,600, so we can. It's just whether we want to spend that money on this or not.
Yeah, we try to keep it at the $9.99 mark so that
Right.
it doesn't upset anyone who, you know, writes out the checks. One of the biggest concerns that have come up over the years, and a little bit more so, is the bigger chips that tend to come, like when the park first opened and we had the big chips that came from the trees that were basically chopped up. Those have been posing a bit of a problem with people as far as smaller dogs.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is that the wood chips they're soaking up a lot of water, which is also creating, we need to keep in mind other opportunities in the future if they come into play. And Christine and I have talked about this. They're soaking up a lot of water, and they're soaking up a lot of other things besides water. And with all of the different kinds of even canine viruses that have been going around, dogs are chewing on these pieces of wood. They're dogs. It's wood. There you go. And we just want to try to avoid, obviously, creating a situation where dogs are getting sick because they're chewing on the same piece of wood that someone else was. We already had a what did they call that? Canine papilloma or something like that. Puppies get it and very old dogs get it, but it's usually
Parvo?
fine. No, 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 no,
Parvovirus
no,
or
no,
something
no,
different?
No, 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 no,
Oh, okay.
no, no, no. These are just the little bumps.
Oh,
that they
okay.
get. No, 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 no. No, I think I'd burn it down. And then a lot of that comes from sharing the water bowls and things like that, but can also come from these super wet wood chips and stuff. Right now, everything is fine, but you know, if DPW has these wood chips that are broken down, they're more shredded than chips, less incentive for dogs to chew on. They like to chew on the stick part.
Okay. So I mean, again, the shredded chips that from Public Works are going to be the free ones. The playground chips, the
Right.
certified are the ones that are basically safer, but you have to pay for those.
Oh, true, and they chew on. They don't
But they
chew
chew.
on them as much because they're so small. It's not like chewing on a little stick for them.
Right.
So there's pluses on both sides of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just something to keep in mind. But we're not there yet in answer
Okay.
to your question.
Okay. Second, we did actually get a box of present bags
Okay.
given to us by one of the manufacturers. They just sent them to us randomly.
Oh,
We didn't
nice.
ask it. I think obviously they're hoping we'll buy more, but you know, so those are over there already. And actually, thanks to Public Works, who was actually out there last week, jack and leveling the shed that was sinking. So that was done last week.
Okay.
So that's been fixed.
Wonderful. Thank you, DPW, if you're watching. The Girl Scouts put a lot of work into that shed, and I would hate to see it start to slide downstream into the bike trail. Okay, so the next thing that's on here is skateboard park.
Topic that never ends.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been obviously talking about this forever.
was that
We
Bishop?
know we have a deadline now coming up with the school district in 2 years that we need to remove the skate park to some other location. We've been looking at options and there's not a lot of great options. I've been told in no uncertain terms that Watson Park is not an option. Really wouldn't want it up in the back where the beach volleyball and that stuff is anyway, because it'd be hidden. But that's the flat spot, which means you'd have to bring in a whole bunch of fill for the rest of the area to put it in because of what's underneath anyway. So Watson Park, for a lot of reasons, doesn't work. So it's, what are our options? So I've come up with three, or we've collectively come up with three over the last couple of years. The town council's got their retreat coming up in a few weeks, and so this is one of their agenda topics, is to talk about it. So here's what I've got, unless we come up with anything else for tonight. So first one, which has been on our list for a while, which is Bishop Field, or adjacent to Bishop Field, and I've got the picture here. And when we first started talking about this, originally I was kind of thinking over on this left-hand side, but we know that MYA uses that on occasion, and we don't want to take away any practice space from MYA since we're short everywhere anyway. So I'm going to kind of strike that for the moment. And so what I'm looking at is where this yellow box is close to the road. We've got parking here, obviously. We've got plenty of space here. It's relatively flat, as you can see in this lower picture. Our existing park, it will fit nicely within inside that. It's close to the middle school, so middle school kids can walk there. The obviously easy for the police to monitor it. The obviously not centrally located, but none of these are, unfortunately. There is one house over here on Danbury Street that's facing Danbury Street, so obviously they'd be a neighbor. It's the one house that's kind of would be closest to it. But they are facing that, but we'd want to, because we are right near the road, we'd obviously want to do some fencing here, you know, errant skateboards and that kind of thing. So that is kind of option one. Again, it's kind of dead space at the moment. I don't believe anybody's practicing there for MYA. And so it's utilizing space that's kind of not in use. The second place is over at Wasserman, where we've talked about for a little while as well. in the location where the swimming pool used to be, again, marked by a yellow box here. Right now, we have we set up volleyball, a grass volleyball for camp, but I can move that if I need to. Obviously, a lot of what Parks and Rec done is based at Wasserman Park. Good ease of visibility. Obviously, it's directly in front of my office, so we can see when things are happening there. Again, relatively flat ground, easy for the police to drive through and monitor. The nearest neighbor is up in Wasserman Heights, so you've got some good separation there. Obviously, lots of parking. The negatives, obviously, again, not centrally located. Everybody has to drive to get there. We talked about relocating my beach volleyball for camp, but that's not a big deal. The concern I would have would obviously be potential for increased vandalism at nights and weekends when people aren't there. And, right now we don't have a lot of this at night going on, but will that create more? I don't know. But it's something to think about. But again, nice flat ground as well, so it works. The third option we talked about came up, I think, the last time we had this conversation, which is over by Gibson Sports Complex by Martell Field. And so here's Martell softball field, and then the two Gibson fields are up on to the left here. There's a section of ground right now, this is where kind of Public Works dumps all their logs. Like when they cut down trees in town and stuff, this is where they end up. If we were to move said logs, it could go here. Now, when you've got sports games going on, particularly on all three fields, as you do almost every single weekend, parking is tight over here right now because you've kind of got here and you've got here in front of said logs. Not that you can't do it, but it's tight. Now, the town owns a parcel of land over here. I believe it's either 4 or 6 acres. I forgot to look it up today. Potentially, you could build parking over here. I would not want to put the skate park here because you've got a whole slew of houses around this neighborhood who are very vocal, and they have been with sports already. But their houses border up to this, what now is just undeveloped land. I think if we try to put skateboard park there, they're going to scream. And I can understand that. There's a lot of houses over there. It does slope at a pretty good angle uphill. You would need to clear all the trees out of there. It's an uphill slope, so you're going to have to build some kind of like retaining walls, and it would be the most expensive to develop, mostly because you're going to have to build the parking in to go with it. Obviously harder for police to drive through. I can already envision the concerns from people on Ashland and Edward and John Lane, just kids down there at night. We already get some of that with sports because like the sports teams have to be out of there. Lights go out at 11. But again, lots of houses, it's kind of hidden back there. It's not my favorite location, but it was discussed, so I threw it out there. What all three of these locations do is obviously it's existing town land. We have some way to make it work. By doing it on town land, it allows us to go out and apply for land and water conservation funding, which can pay for up to half the cost. Now, the anticipated cost to build basically using modern materials of what we have now, with maybe some minor upgrades. Right now, we're probably about $175,000 just to build what's there. The existing park will not move. It's kind of a wooden substructure that's kind of rotting. It's at the end of its lifespan anyway, so it's going to be a brand new park that we're going to start with that'll last another 20 or 30 years. I did talk to one of the skate park companies, and their lead time from an order is about 18 months. And so just nature of supply chain and all of that. So the timing kind of works as long as we can move, if we can, come down with a location with the town council at their retreat, and then put it in the budget for the fall. It kind of works into that time frame, and then gives me next winter to put in that land and water funding, the grant application for funding. So all are possible. I think of the three, the Bishop Field site probably makes the most sense, the least disruptive, at least in my perspective. At least the middle school kids can walk there. Everybody else needs to drive wherever. You know, we talked briefly at one point about, you know, somebody, I think it was Cameron, asked me about maybe trying to use the parking lot at above over by Jade Dragon. The challenge there is we'd have to lease the site, which is be kind of going back to the same situation we're in now, which is we don't own the land, which means we can't apply for the grant because we have to own the land now. And could obviously be taken out from us 5 years from now, you know, and we don't want to do it. We don't want to do that either, you know, so.
Now, is all that owned by the plaza? Because there is a chunk of like grassy area and trees behind cells off from the parking lot and
That's
stuff.
my understanding is it's all owned by
Okay.
them, so.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't have a better suggestion unless anybody here does tonight. Like I said, we've been kind of talking about this on and off for probably 5 years now, ever since the agreement with the school expired. So, everything else is a challenge. Yes.
I just feel it's really noisy.
Mhm.
Where I live, I can hear them when it's crowded, but
Yeah.
I just feel bad for that one person. I think Bishop Street, where it's close to the school, I mean, you can't have kids trying to drive. I don't think it would get much use if everybody has to drive. I think the younger kids are really into that.
Yeah.
You know, the older kids kind of grow out of it, but I feel bad for the one person. You have to talk to them.
Yeah,
really.
and we would do that obviously, and
Again-
maybe we look at like a sound suppressing fence or
Yeah. Or a
something to
discount
that.
on their taxes.
Well, I don't know about that, but you know, fence something noise reduction. I think
Yeah,
is a
I
way to
guess
do
they
that,
have, you know,
For
kind of like they do on the
discount
highway, you know, some sort of barrier. But I think again, the middle school kids can certainly walk. Elementary school kids are going to get driven either way, but you know, it'd be nice to do something downtown, but it just that doesn't exist, you know. Yeah, it
I have a
just,
question on
yeah.
okay, so Wasserman.
Yeah.
How far down are the pieces to the pool? I assume it was just broken up and then it was filled.
my understanding is it's buried, so it's there. I don't know how deep it's there.
My reason for asking that is if the skateboard park has to be anchored in some way, which I assume it has to be, so that it doesn't move around.
Yeah.
It may not be a good place to have it if the ground is not actually solid because of the way the pool was filled in.
My
so-
guess is we would, well, and it would be the same for any of them, really. Is I mean, there's going to be a layer of gravel on the bottom, and then there's going to be a mix of concrete and asphalt on top of it, you know, to hold that in place.
I just didn't know what was down there and what
Yeah.
they filled it with.
I don't know how deep it is. Like I said, I've been told anecdotally that it's buried there, but and what I've been told was at one point it was leaking like crazy because they built it out of asphalt, is what I'm told. And why you'd ever build a pool out of asphalt, I don't know, but they did, and it was leaking, and they went to town meeting one year back whenever they did, and town meeting shot it down because it was like $200,000 or something, and they said no, and so they buried it, and that was the end of it. So, but again, it's a flat piece of land. It's could be used, you know.
So at Bishop, the 175 you were talking about, the 175,000, that's for the actual materials for the skateboard
That, including
park?
the surfacing and you know the asphalt and the concrete and the elements.
If we put up some kind of a soundproofing fence,
That's
though,
probably
that
gonna
would
add
go
more.
along, what is that, McQuestion? Oh, is that
That's-
Babusick Lake when it turns? So if there's a,
This is
Yeah.
du-
That-
hold on.
that one, the arrow, the
This is Dunlop, and
Yeah.
Babusick's over here where Madeline Bennett comes out is right here.
okay.
Babusick's over here.
So if they put up some kind of a soundproofing or at least a sound subsiding fence, isn't that going to also cut into what the police are going to be able to see? Because usually those fences are a
Yeah.
lot more solid.
I mean, but they could easily enough drive through. But
Yeah, the fact that it's a mile down the road roughly is good, I think.
yeah,
yeah,
Physically, it's not far away from the station.
I'm actually rooting for Bishop. So I think that, and I hear what Maureen's saying, and I don't disagree because I don't think I want to be listening to that 7, 8 o'clock at night, or even earlier. I know, but there are they put them up on highways and things like that. Do we have any idea of what the cost might be for something like that?
That I don't know. I can look that up, but
Okay.
it's got to be doable. And I mean, you're talking, you know, maybe a couple 100 feet. I can't imagine it's probably, you know, maybe it adds another $5,000 or $10,000. I don't know yet.
Okay, Naomi.
What hours are it open? Is it dawn till dusk?
Right now, it's basically dawn to dusk.
Because that's the other thing is, you know, if you live near there and somebody's there like ridiculously late, you could call the police and say they're a mile down the road and say, hey, come make them stop the noise.
Yeah.
Sure they check it too because of it being a school area.
Right.
Might even actually go around there at the time of dusk or dawn just to make sure that it's emptying out. I know they've stopped at the dog park and done that until we all lined our cars up and lit up the dog park. You gotta do what you gotta do in the wintertime. Does anybody else have any other questions?
No, I just think it has to be accessible for the kids. Has to be. I mean, there's no sense building it way out at Wasserman. It's like, I mean, they might get some people, but like you said, that's far.
Yeah.
You know, maybe in 100 years they might build a school out there, but you never know.
Matt, is this something that you want to see if we could vote on
If-
tonight if we have enough?
If we have a consensus at least, so
Okay.
because I do have to turn in this write up to town council for their retreat, which is coming up soon.
Okay.
So if we have some consensus, then that'll be good. But obviously, I'm going to send it all to them anyway, just so they know what we've been talking about, and they'll make up their own minds. But if we have consensus, then it certainly helps.
So we can do it as a motion, or we could do it as a vote on each site.
Well, I mean, it sounds like Bishop is what I hear, but so if we want to just on a motion on recommending Bishop,
I'll make the motion that we recommend option 1 adjacent for the skateboard park to be located at Bishop Field, adjacent to Bishop Field.
Do we have a second? Rick? Okay, all in favor of Laura's motion to have the skateboard park be presented to town council for Bishop Field? Yep. Yeah.
okay.
All right. Thanks, Matt, for that. I'm glad we finally at least came up with something.
We'll see what they say afterwards, but you know.
I bet that person's going to show up for the town meeting.
Well, the other one we're going to hear from is Mrs. Flera, whose husband had donated the original park because she was told by somebody that it would be there forever, and I can't control that. So, right,
But I agree with you. I think she'll understand. It's out of our control.
yeah. So,
There is a legal law out there, a legal rule out there called the rule against perpetuities. It wouldn't work quite that way, but or it
well,
did.
there was so the problem was the agreement between the town and the school, like they don't know that site had gotten land and water conservation funding, which should have put it in perpetuity. But then obviously we had all the issues with the tennis courts and we had to get them declared obsolete, you know, and again, just a little bit of a history lesson with the tennis courts. They were just such bad shape, you know, and it was like, and this was before I got here. And it's scary to think that I've been here 10 years now, but, before I got here, there was this whole big debate about those tennis courts and the shape, and they'd gotten an estimate. It was like $300,000 at the time to fix them, but the company would only warranty them for 2 years because they shouldn't be, like, the ground's unstable over there, and so they just buckle and crack, and the town's like, well, why am I going to spend $300,000 every 2 or 3 years to basically rebuild the courts? You know, and so there was a whole legal thing with the state because of the grant funding, and again, part of that was, and that's part of why they don't allow, the LWCF doesn't allow non-ownership of sites to apply for grants anymore because of issues like this.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, and we've had those buckling and cracking issues, you know, with the skateboard park too. We replace those panels about every 18 months because the whole the ramps like sink into the ground when it's hot in the summer. And so then the ramps on the ramp surfaces bend and crack because of the shifting and, you know, whatever. So anyway,
Is it possible to add maybe a little something like the skateboard park being named after memorializing?
probably. And I mean, the other thing that we do once we have a site, the other thing that we would end up doing is probably starting some, you know, obviously community outreach and, you know, like design session kind of, you know, we'll get the skateboard park company to come in, talk about what's possible within our budget, you know, and kind of give people the opportunity to kind of vote on things. And, you know, what do you think about this layout and this, you know, that kind of thing. So, and to engage, you know, the skating community especially. So, but that's the next step. We got to get the funding first, or the location set, then the funding, then the, you know.
Then the memorial plaque.
That's right.
Okay. Naomi?
I was just curious if there was anybody who was speaking of fundraising, if there were like groups that were thinking about raising money to help with this, or if that's like so far down the pipeline nobody's even
I've had a couple of people that said, you know, when we start moving to reach out to them, and I've been saving their names, so when we get to that point that, you know, we'll reach out, and obviously we'll reach out to Mrs. Flair as well when we get to that point. But yeah, that's kind of next steps.
Okay. All right. Well, Matt, you're basically back on the hot seat.
I'm up again. I
There
told
you
you
go.
I'd make this easy for you.
Director's report. Matt Kasparius.
All right. Let's start with talking about after school. We got all our licenses in place from the state of New Hampshire for our new after school program that's starting in the fall. We opened registration up about a week ago, and we've got 6 or 7 kids signed up already, which is good. The rate basically boils down to $25 a day, so we're kind of right in line with what the Y is charging, what the school district program is charging. You know, we're and there's a couple of daycares, but again, as we've talked, you know, those other programs collectively only serve about 100 kids out of Thornton's Ferry, and there's, you know, 500 in the school, and so there's a market there, and I think we'll be able to fill that no problem. We've already had inquiries from other schools. And, you know, eventually we hope to branch out to other schools. Right now, we're limited in capacity to 40 people based on the number of bathrooms we have at the function hall. If I can build one more bathroom, like, you know, one of the things we're trying to do is eventually build out the basement of the function hall, which has been dead space for 15 years now. But if I can put a bathroom in there, now I can increase capacity to 80. The biggest challenge is we have to charter a school bus, to get from Thornton's Ferry to the park every day. The school obviously can't commit to sending, you know, 30 kids on one bus to drop off at the park. You know, they just don't have that kind of capacity. It costs me $200 a day, which is $35,000 a year for that one bus. And obviously, so if I branch to another school, there's another $35,000. So I have to have enough kids signed up. You know, right now I need like 24, 25 kids, you know, all in with my existing group with my one school, to hit that break even point, you know. And then, like I said, you know, I can go to 40, so I could potentially had 20 and 20, you know, but we're obviously focused on the one school for now. But hopefully that'll be coming down the road. Registration details are on our website. And people can certainly call us if they have any questions. Community garden is now open for the season. Opened on Friday officially. 2 years ago, when the Agricultural Commission ran the garden that last year, they had 30 plots sold. Last year we hit 60. Right now we're at 92. We're just about at capacity. I think we have 4 spots left at this point. So they're out there and they're loving their garden, and things are going pretty well over there. So it's managing the garden in the overall is not too bad. But James and I spent 7 hours on Friday, like just gridding out each individual plot and the rows and staking down walkways and
bless ya.
got a nice sunburn for it. It was a good time. But so it was like one solid day of just like heavy manual labor, but you know, that's okay. So like I said, we're glad to see that it's getting so much use. Camp. We are 4 weeks away from camp opening, which is a little crazy. Staff orientation starts on June 14th. Because school doesn't now get out until June 20th, I end up having a handful of rising seniors that are going to end up missing orientation because they're still in school. So we have to do an alternate orientation for those handful of kids, but fortunately it's only a handful. So our official first day of camp will be Wednesday, June 21st. It'll be a short week. Camp Natticook at this point is 92% full for the summer. But most of that falls within our like kids going into 5th grade group and 2nd grade. Everything else is more or less full at this point. You know, as we get spots open, we call the wait list. And although what we're finding now is we'll have 10 names on the wait list and 9 of them will have found other options at this point. So we're, you know, every day we kind of move 5 or 10 more people off the wait list, but as we get a spot. But and then with our camp truck, our teen camp program, we're at 94% capacity. And you know what I find is interesting. So last year, our total registrations for the summer was 1,049. As of the other day, we were at 1,275. So basically 20% more campers this year than last year. So, which is easily by far highest in camp history.
That's amazing, Matt. Thank you. It's amazing what you guys have done.
We've come a long way. We were at my first year here. We were at 725 and had been dropping for several years, mostly because there was, 7 condemned buildings in Wasserman Park. There was, a reputation of video games and nail polish was all they did all day, which they did. And we obviously fixed a lot of those things. Staffing at this point is done, we think. I had somebody drop out on me Friday and another one drop out Saturday. We hired one today and I've got an interview tomorrow hopefully for the other slot. So hopefully I'm done. Running out of time to get background checks and all that done through the process. But 4 weeks to go until we open. So we're a little busy. Summer concerts start on June 21st, the first day of camp, which is lovely how that worked out. Concerts run on Wednesday nights starting June 21st through August 16th, starting at 6 o'clock over here at Abbey Griffin Park. Schedule is up on the website. I didn't bring copies of the flyers because I forgot them tonight, but they are up on the website, and obviously we'll start promoting that more heavily once we get into June and people are really starting to think about it. 4th of July, because 4th of July is, what I say, it's like 72 days away or something. I don't know. I lost track now, but it all comes in a blur. I get these like 3 or 4 weeks in June and July where I'm at like 90 hours a week, but that's okay. But preparations are underway. Things obviously kick off on Monday, July 3rd with the annual patriotic concert with the Concert Association. That's at 6:30 p.m. here at Abbey Griffin Park. And then on Tuesday, the high school Roadrunners Boosters Clubs has their annual 5K road race, as they always do, at 8 o'clock in the morning. The Rotary Club will be doing their annual pancake breakfast at the high school from 8 to 11 a.m., as they traditionally do. They are not, however, not doing the Family Fun Day anymore. The bounce houses and the games and the concerts and all that. The club's kind of dropped its membership and they struggled to get volunteers and it's like, we're done. We just can't do it anymore. So that is not happening anymore. So it's just the pancake breakfast with Rotary. And then the parade kicks off at 1 o'clock from the Common Shopping Plaza, as it always does. We travel down Daniel Webster Highway to Babusick Lake Road, turn up onto O'Gara Drive, and end up at the high school. Again, parade kicks off at 1 o'clock. The deadline to enter a float or anything into the parade is Friday, June 30th at noon, because that gives me 3 days basically to make the lineup in order and get all the copies made and everything for Tuesday. We've got probably a dozen or so already signed up. Most of the bands are confirmed, and then we've got a few, the library and the Girl Scouts and, the kind of the traditional groups, but the bulk of them end up coming in, in that last week before the deadline. So, my guess, given that next year's we're coming up on another election year, it'll probably be another big year. And that's okay, but we'll see what happens there. Then the day ends with the fireworks display at the high school. We pushed the time back to 9:15 officially this year. It's always been 9, but we've never actually started at 9 because it's not quite dark enough yet. So I just said, I just changed it officially with the fireworks company this year. Fire department likes it better. It's a little darker, easier to see. So 9:15, we will have DJ Darren Roy playing music from 7:15 to 9:15 in the parking lot as he did last year, just to kind of build up the crowd and have that vibe. We've invited several food trucks to come and have food set up as we did last year, ice cream and drinks and fried dough or whatever. None of them have turned in their paperwork yet, but hopefully they will. So we'll see what happens there. And then movies in the park this summer, we're doing 3. We usually start in June, but it's always a late start because it's too light out. And it's usually really buggy in June. So we pushed our first movie back to July, and we're starting with our movie geared towards adults on Saturday, July 29th. We're doing Top Gun Maverick. Saturday, August 26th, so the end of the summer, we're doing Minions: The Rise of Gru. And then Saturday, September 30th is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So the second 2 are obviously kids-based movies. But it's like 8:30 for the Top Gun movie, 7:30 for Minions, and then 6:30 for Puss in Boots when we're in the fall, and because it's nice and dark, nice and early. I think it works better. I think people will stick around longer because the kids won't have to get off to bed. So we'll see how that goes. Those 3 movies will be at Wasserman Park as we've done the last several years. I didn't throw it on there, but we will. Once I get by 4th of July, we start working with the police on National Night Out, which is the first Tuesday in August. I think it's the first this year. But I don't know any other details because we haven't started working on that yet. But that's something we help them plan every year. So, and I think that's all I got. I don't have any miscellaneous updates this week.
I'm going to start with WOW. I said I'm going to start with WOW. You've made camp basically a must appear. Everybody has to go to Merrimack. So,
although actually the other thing I'll throw this out there just as I'm thinking about it, we actually had a conversation the other day with the director of Camp Sargent, and we're going to work on some kind of like camp staff on staff challenges this summer, like as a social event for the staff, but also just a spirit night kind of, take home, who can take home the trophy for this year kind of thing. And then we've already kind of had some preliminary talks about next year, maybe even trying to do something with the campers. Maybe it's canoe across the lake and meet it in the middle, or I don't know yet. So
log roll on Blueberry Island.
there you go.
Yeah.
We already do a swim to Blueberry Island in our own camp, so
Really?
we do.
Who's your director over at Camp Sargent? Who's the director?
It's Tiffany.
Oh yeah, Tiffany.
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn, thank you.
All right. Anybody have any questions on the massive amount of things that Matt's got on his plate?
Matt, you did it again. If you keep going. Thank you.
All right. That sounds like a good reason for a party. I don't know about you. Organization reports. MYA, Rick?
Thank you. I'm going to start with my thank yous first for a change, including thanking DPW. They've done so much over the last month to get everything ready. It's pretty amazing. And of course, Gatang and Elbit Systems for sharing their space and being so generous. The sports currently in session are baseball, softball, and lacrosse. And signups are available at this time for football and cheerleading. That's it.
Okay, cool. Maureen, you ready?
I'm ready,
All right.
I think.
Senior Citizens Club?
Yeah. Well, we were signing up. We got 25 people for Danvers for the Bee Gees. So they're going to take a bus. It was really, I guess somebody else had gone to the Palace and said it was great. So, got a lot of things together with Matt, the seniors. A lot of seniors, I don't know. I think because of COVID, they all found something else to do. Really. You know, they said, oh, we don't mind staying home because it's hard to get them back to the meetings. But we have a lot of younger couples coming in, so we need them. And this year's our 50th anniversary, so we're going to celebrate December at our Christmas party and have a dinner. And we have a group of ladies working on that right now. See if we can get some celebrities to come. Yeah. But anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
Adam Sandler, maybe.
Hey. Wow.
Or one of the guys who comes from Boston. What's his face? Yeah. Well, yeah, I can't think of the names. Matt Damon, is that one of them?
Matt Damon?
And
Ben Affleck.
but thank you.
Sure.
From Boston.
I can't speak tonight. Why not? He was serving at Dunkin' Donuts down in
Oh,
what was
that's
it?
right. Oh, yeah. He'll come
in,
serve us a
Westford
donut.
or-
Yeah.
I can't remember where it was.
No, I don't
before
think
his
I don't
movie?
think half the people would know who he is, so too young. But anyways, but yeah, we're going strong right now.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but thank you. Thank you, Matt, for helping with the trips too.
All right. Next one is next one, school board, Naomi.
So, as Matt's comment about 4 weeks till camp starting reminded me, we're wrapping up the school year fast and furious. A lot of the elementary schools, especially, have like art showcases and things like that coming up over the next couple of weeks. Usually that's, only the parents for those particular schools. So I didn't bring a list of which ones when, but they're all on the websites if parents need to know when that is. High school graduation is June 10th. The last day of school, as was mentioned, is June 20th. And then in terms of the school board itself, we just had our reorganization, and then at the end of June, June 22nd, we're having our second annual goals meeting to sort of chart the course for the district for the coming year.
All right.
So we're gonna be busy.
I guess so. All right. Matt?
Yes, back to me.
Yes.
Obviously, Cameron's not here. She's obviously graduating this year, so we'll be stepping off. But I did get an email earlier this week from a Matthew Brown, who's a rising sophomore at the high school, interested in the role of student rep. So I've sent him what he needs to do to apply,
Rising as in he's
going into sophomore year.
Oh, so 3 years worth. Yay. Matt, if you're watching. Yes, please find out what his favorites are. And Cameron, if you are watching, we also wish you the best. And hopefully we'll get a chance to see her before she leaves. But if she doesn't, it's been wonderful having her for this year. And she brought a nice level of energy to our group from the kids up there at the high school. So that was nice. Mackenzie from Town Council.
Well, thank you all. I'm very excited to be the new rep from the town council on this Parks and Recs committee. Our town council, we just met last week, and not last week, but the prior meeting we had, we did our reorganization for the town council. So we just had that happen. We'll be doing our town council retreat on the 21st of June, where we'll be talking about the skate park, as Matt mentioned. And then at our last meeting last week, the town council just accepted a donation of $600 from the Merrimack Lions Club to the Parks and Recs department for the scholarship fund for the camps. So we're excited about that. But I think that is all that I have.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. So if it's okay with you, Matt, a nice shout out to the Lions Club. They really do jump in and help out in a lot of different places and make themselves known throughout Merrimack.
And his wife actually just handed me a check. They're going to be sponsoring two of the movies again. So they just handed me a check that I have to submit to the council for approval. But so they're giving us more
I
money.
repeat my kudos. It takes a village to help the village. So, all right.
Question?
Maureen?
Yeah, Matt, how come we don't have a retreat? Everybody has a retreat.
Well,
I don't know. Wasserman.
wait a second. Wait a second. I have the perfect retreat. Dog park, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. Bring your
There you
trash
go.
bags.
There you go. And trail building.
Oh yeah. Yes. Are we done now? Okay. Well, we have no more public because they left. So, any other comments from the committee? Okay. Do we have a motion to? Well, next meeting is June 21st. And then we are not having a meeting in July.
We don't typically meet in July unless some major issue comes in.
You're gonna get us all in trouble. And so then the meeting after that will be August 16th. Watch your emails closely because we do check to see if people are coming. Matt sends out an email with the agendas and everything. And we need people to respond to make sure that we have a quorum. If it's a slow month, we can always postpone a month, but it's not a good idea to do it more than 1 month. So if Matt sends an email, trust me, it needs a response. So, all right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor of adjourning? All right. Committee's adjourned at 8:12.